until it got dark. And then when it got dark, the fight just got more intense. And all I could remember was blood just going from her face. And my older sister was just crying and trying to pull him off. We're in the back seat. And I remember just traumatized. I remember this little girl, and I could even reminisce and
For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 20:11. Welcome to another inspiring episode of Podcast with Sheila. With me today is a passionate speaker and author of the Epitome of Kimmy, Kimberly Ann Bell. Kimberly will be sharing with us stories from a painful and traumatic childhood in kinship care to abusive relationships, teen pregnancy, and maturity. As usual, if you've not yet subscribed, head on and hit on the subscribe button and come back. We'll be here waiting for you. And whilst you're at it, don't forget to share it and be a blessing to someone else. Hello, Kimberly, and welcome to Podcast with Sheila.
Hi, Sheila. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Here.
We are delighted to have you. Good. Do you have a favorite quote you'd like to share with us today?
Well, one, I have many, but one that come in mind is, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude, for Maya Angelou. So that's one of my favorites of hers.
Great. If you don't like something, change it. That's a good one. Can you tell us a bit about you before we set the ball rolling, just so that our audience will get to know who Kimberly really is?
A little bit about me is that I am 48. I am a single parent of 4 adult children and 1 minor. She'll be 6 years old, December the 2nd. I am one of the best case managers for the state, MDH in Maryland. And I've been working from home, been blessed to be able to work from home of this career of choice for the last years. I love dancing, I love nature, I love life. I'm in the process with investing time with me, my self-worth, who I am, the resilience that I had become, and the skills that I have had been cultivated through my adopted dad, and how it's just since the book has just the courage and the release of my characteristics and my personality, of the true essence of Kimmy has just been brought forth and just has been blossoming. And I'm just so blessed to be able to go through this path, the journey of my life, to be able to share with others that I just don't see myself as a victim, but an overcomer, and anybody else. If I could do it, you could do it.
Great. That's a great one there. So from what I know, a little bit I know about your story, you had a painful childhood, and it says that your parents abandoned you. Can we start from there?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, pretty much of that I do remember and recall is that there was a awful fight. This particular one was worse than any fight that I remember. It wasn't not normal to see physical abuse in my home before I was 5 years old. I was raised in a home in the beginning with a foundation, not seeing love, not seeing affection between my mother and my father, but the arguing, the discord, and most of all, the discord that she would display to me. And that was always a profound moment, because the woman that I wanted the attachment and the love from, I never got. And at that age, little that I can remember, I found myself trying to be the quietest, to be the sweetest, to yearn for some type of affection that she just did not give. So one particular incident that was one of the worst incidents that I could remember, the major fight. My older sister, she's 2 years older than me. We were rushed into the car, and at that time, it's in the 70s, and I remember the song playing, and we rode around listening to this music, and he's a bass guitar player, and he played music in churches, and I was always around music, so that wasn't as weird to me. It was just that we were riding so many places and stopping, and song after song was playing until it got dark. And then when it got dark, the fight just got more intense, and all I could remember was blood just going from her face. And my older sister was just crying and trying to pull him off. We're in the back seat, and I remember just traumatized. I remember this little girl, and I could even reminisce and look back at this little girl shut completely down, Sheila. I could not cry. It was like I was numb. I was absolutely frozen. And I remember looking back at my sister and hurt that she was hurt, but I couldn't cry. And then I'm looking at my mother saying, what in my mind, like, what in the world is going on? I love this woman. I don't want her to be hurt like this. Then I'm looking at my dad and feeling like, well, every time that he came in, he showed me love. He would put me up in his arms, but he was hardly there. He was always in and out, in and out. So I'm like, what in the world? So all the emotions are in my spirit and in my head, like, what in the world? Well, we end up to my grandparents' house, which is her parents. And I remember them arguing, and I remember my grandfather having this, one of the craziest look in his face, because he's definitely displeased that his daughter's being brought there with his grandkids in this condition. Yeah. And I remember them passing words, and whatever words were said, my dad said, "Come on, Kim." And he was arguing with my mother, but I had to be the one go. So I remember getting in the car with him, and we went and we rode, and he said nothing. I don't remember any conversation at all, where I was going, if I was going anywhere or being dropped off. And I'm staying in silence because I'm shocked. My sister stayed, and I'm with him. So I remember him taking me to this place where this woman and this man lived, and this is his biological sister, which is the oldest of them, which is my paternal aunt. Now, I have never stayed a night with them, and I remember them vaguely, but I remember being dropped off, and this was the starting point that I kind of put in my book, besides of what I've heard, why and how my name came about, the Kimberly and all that, of my journey, of who I am today. So I was dropped off, and I remember him saying something to my adopted mother at that time, and he left. And I'm 5, and I remember them showing me where I sleep, and I remember just a mind just go blank, a voice that just disappears, a cry that could not come out, a yell that was just shut down, scream that it didn't matter if I did scream because nobody cared. All of these just I grew up with. And I remember laying there and not knowing what tomorrow would bring, but understanding and knowing even at that time that there was a higher power. Yeah. There was something there that I held on to right then, that I wasn't in this thing alone, that tomorrow would come, and whatever was going to happen tomorrow, this higher power, this presence over me was still going to be with me. Exactly. Yeah. My God. So I waited, and as days go by, as months go by, no one never came back to get me. I wanted them too. I wanted to be reunited to my sister. I had questions. I had, but the answers that was given to me was, you're staying here. We love you. You're ours. You call her little mom, daddy Bill, dad. And no type, and this is why the picture is so amazing, because as I was getting ready to get the design of the cover, I was talking to my promoter, and I was like, I don't know what I would even want on the front to kind of bring my book to life.
Yeah.
And the epitome of Kimmy, when it's my journey. And so I started thinking, and I said, wait a minute. I said, I have no baby pictures. I have no pictures in my possessions of them together or me and my sister together. I only had this birth certificate that I was able to see once I got a job, my first job. I was able to see this birth certificate that was now a birth certificate of my adopted parents. I've never seen anything besides that has said that I was my biological mother and father.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going back into my photo album, and I'm going to go and see what picture that I had first. And that's how I came up with that picture. That's the kindergarten picture, my first picture of the picture that I have possessed in my life in my younger years.
That's a beautiful picture on the cover of the book. It's really beautiful.
Thank you.
It's really beautiful. But I want to ask, so you never met your parents again after that?
Yes, I did. Yes, but I never received what I wanted. Yes, I did. The relationship that my biological dad had with his sister, which is my biological aunt, was a good relationship, I guess, because he would come often. He would come by, and he would even come by as the years went by and introduce them to my his another family, him having news that he was expecting other children.
Oh.
But it was like I was forgotten that I was his child. In the earlier days, Sheila, because this was all fresh, I guess he was trying to get me custom or whatever by saying, I'm going to come back and get you, which was the wrongest thing to do, because he would have me waiting and he would never show up.
Yeah.
So I'm having my hopes build up, and the 6 and 7 year old, and thinking that having my bags packed. Well, he said he just came by and talked to my mother and his sister and said, Kimmy, I'm coming to get you, and we're going to go somewhere. I'm going to spend time. And he would never come. He would never show up. So I remember my adopted dad having a tough conversation with him, and he was very stern. And my adopted dad was a lot older than my mother, but he was very wise. And I remember him saying, stop. I remember him putting his foot down a couple of times about him building my hopes up and not coming to not and just seeing me melt, have this, meltdown. And so after that conversation, I do remember that that conversation even lifted the time longer before I seen him again, because he was upset. So I didn't see him alone. So my biological mother, after a while, as I got older, I was able to go and visit her and my siblings. But it was a tough 2020, because when I came back to my adopted mother's home after visiting, I would still be in sad, very sad, grieving spirit, because I still didn't get what I wanted. I wanted to reunite and stay. I wanted the love. And when I went there to visit, it was just like I was a visitor. It was not no.
Did you feel like part of the family?
Yes, it was no caress. It was no Kimmy, and I remember just looking at her in a daze and saying to myself for years, when I would go and visit her, do you even love me?
Yeah.
What has happened? What is wrong? What happened to me? Why? Could you just put your arms around me? I don't remember any of those moments when I was little that you held me and rocked me and said that things was going to be all right and that you loved me and you were kind. None of that. So maybe this particular time this will come. And Sheila, each time the visit wouldn't. So I think my adopted parents could see that.
Yeah.
And so after a while, they stopped. They just stopped letting me go. And I'm looking at, here's this broken justification. No one fought for me. Not my father. He just went right on with his life and got a new family, had other kids. Not my mother. So Sheila, I'm bringing all this baggage into my young adult and adult life of who would ever love me enough to fight for me? Who would ever want just me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kimmy, I'm sitting here with a lot of emotions going on. When I hear stories like this, it breaks my heart. If you've listened to previous episodes, you hear me say all the time, I think almost every episode I say that I'm passionate about women and children because I work around women a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm a woman and a mother as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes some of these things, when women go through and their children at home, I always say that what is the impact on the child or the children? What will that impact be?
Yes.
You get it? And I'm lost for words, but I can't say how bad will anybody hurt you as a man for you to lift your hand against a woman. How bad?
Mm-hmm.
How bad? If you cannot deal with it, just leave quietly.
Right. Yes.
You get it? There are children at home. Yes. You are lifting your hands, you're raising your voice, you're shouting. How are these children going to feel?
Yes.
I think sometimes we forget that the children are watching.
Exactly. And it like the foundation. I get what you're saying, Sheila, and I tell mothers and I tell fathers and and I am even reminded in my life, and raising my kids, the foundation is so crucial for your children and what they see and what they get exposed to and what you give them, because it's something that they feel, and as our responsibility, as our accountability, and nurturing these young people, these living people. For years, I thought that I was not a gift. I wasn't one to give. That's my first chapter. It's because both parents left me. I mean, and this was not my choice. And then besides that, before they left me, look what atmosphere, environment they were responsible and accountable for, had me and my sister in, like you were just saying.
Yeah. So the children are trusting on us for love. And sometimes we take all of those things for granted. Mommy, I want a hug, and I'm too tired, I'm busy, go away. And Mommy, can I get a kiss? Mommy, can I for me, I get it all the time. Even when I'm in bed, when I'm in bed early in the morning, as early as 4, my son will just walk in. And when he opens the door like that and the light from the corridor comes in, it gets into my eye, my eyes are open. So I know he's walking. Mommy, can I get a hug? And I never find it strange. I never.
Yes.
So I give it to him. And then he stays in bed a little and then he goes.
Right. And that's what I do too. And I do to my adult children, but I also definitely do a lot with mine. She like I said, she's 5 now. But a lot of times I catch myself immediately. I said, even though I was 15 when I had my first one, Sheila, I always promised and I vowed, and I think sometimes I overcompensated because of what I went through. But I said they would never, none of my kids would never feel the longing or feel the lack of love from this mother that I felt with mine. So I made that vow when I first had my first child, and now I have 5. But with Manye, I'll catch myself, and periodically I'll say at least once or twice during the day. I said, "Can I have a hug?"
Yeah. Because we need, we need it as mothers.
Exactly. It's meant for me, but yet I want her to feel that affection and that embrace and that moment that, yes, no matter, like you said, I'm providing, you're making sure, I make sure that you got food in your stomach and you got clothes on your back. It's no substitute for time, love, and your energy. Seriously. And what you instill in a child, no substitute. It's not one material thing that you can give them that could substitute those things.
You're right, Kimmy. And there's one thing that I just want to throw in, if anybody is listening, because this kind of situation is happening all over the place. And for some reason, I think that a lot of relationships are going through a lot lately.
Right.
Lately. And for me as a woman, what I'll say is, if you find yourself in this situation, don't allow it to overwhelm you. Yeah. Get out as soon as you can. Yeah. Because another thing I see is, while you stay in longer, depression sets in. And depression changes your personality.
Mm-hmm. And attitude. Attitude. Yeah.
It just changes your image. You get to look old, and you get it. So your life cannot even move on the way you want to, because depression, I don't know what, it breaks you ease quickly. It breaks you down.
It transfers over and to everybody that's connected to you. Like and ironically, I've seen this and found myself having to cut the generational curse because I got into physical abuse relationships. And until I said enough, I am worth more. Love is not meant for me to have anyone put their hands on me, to hurt me, to cause me disrespectful names. That is not what I'm worth, and that is not what God has created me to receive. And I will not stay in it. I will not.
It's not worth it. Somebody's calling you names, bringing you down. The moment they try to talk to you, they want to put you down before they even make their statement, bring their work. All those things, they are not worth it. I think that every woman, because once they start hating you, they are going to keep doing it.
Oh yeah, and I've had whoever's listening, like you were saying, Sheila. This is Domestic Awareness Awareness Month, so it's ironic that we're still elaborating on this subject. But I can speak. I lived those grace periods. But what I can tell you, Sheila, that I will never forget, and I am glad that I am able to tell someone else, once you fear someone, and once you know in your mind and can have that doubt that they will do it again, it's over. It's over, because that is not worth sticking it out and staying in. I had to cut a relationship off because I doubted, and it had happened. And even though it's been years or months before the physical altercation happened, there's a doubt that it won't never happen again. So you know what? I don't take that risk with my life. Exactly. First of all, it should have happened that one time. So I'm not going to live in fear and doubting, will this ever happen again? Because like you said, Sheila, 9 times out of 10, it will happen again.
It will.
In a shape or form. So it's not worth my life to me. Now that I'm almost 50, I can't take that risk. If I fear someone, fear is not love.
It isn't.
Fear is not love. And God did not create us to have an helpmeet or anyone in our life, whether it's a father, mother, sister, a boyfriend, husband, to fear.
Yeah.
To fear that they will hurt you. No.
One time somebody said they went to a meeting, and a work meeting, and after the meeting, I think they were having lunch after the meeting, and somebody said, she, as a woman, she's used to it when her husband beats her up, because in that way, she sees that the man loves her. So I think that some men have it at the back of their minds that women like to be beaten. Mm-hmm. So when the person said that, I said, no, it doesn't work with me. And I believe it may not work with other women. as well. Because growing up, I never ever for once ever saw that my father lifted his hand against my mom. They had arguments as human beings because they had come from different backgrounds and they've come together as a married couple. So they would not always reason on the same level. They would talk. You can see that they had their argument, but in a decent manner.
Right. And I think that's a form of manipulation and control.
Yeah.
But I know once I got adopted, in my adopted home, I never witnessed physical abuse between them two. Thank God. I witnessed, now they didn't agree with everything. And I remember him saying, because my mom would go on and on and on. Sometimes he would say, "Now, little mom, I think you said enough. Or he'll walk out.
Yeah.
Or he'll walk outside and get some fresh air and come back or whatever.
Yeah.
But I do remember I was in my second marriage that I talk about in my book.
Yeah.
And that was the one that he was 11 years older than me. And I was scared to tell my dad that he had hit me or with physical abuse going on in the house. And I remember him believing, it was happening, but was waiting for me to come out and say. And he had a discussion in front of me too, my husband at that time. And he said, "I don't even put my hands on her. If you have to feel that you got to put your hands on her, bring her back home." Exactly. I remember him saying that. So it's even in back there in the generation or whatever, it's we as women have to value ourselves more, value our body more, value our mind more, and take a stand and know that we are not created for that. Our self-worth is better than that, and stick to it. One thing that I had a problem doing, and I learned that even when I used to minister and talk to people, what I have to say and what I do say, I live.
Yeah.
I live what I say. You follow what I'm saying, Sheila?
Yeah.
And it takes courage to do that, but I will not speak on anything or do something or say something that I'm not living myself.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not, don't get me wrong, not saying that it's easy, because we can get into that manipulating mind frame that even if we have seen it watching, we know that it's wrong. We know certain treatments and relationships is wrong, is not healthy. We get into the set bad habit pattern and feel that this is what we should deal with and accept. And it's not true.
It's even not how God, I believe that's not how God designed marriage to be.
Exactly. But you see, Sheila, sometimes even with that, you go into religion, and men into certain religions construe the word and that submission and feel like that, and feel like that submission gives them entitled, gives them a right to control or mentally or physically abuse us. And like you said, I believe that's not what God meant for the submission to be.
At all. And I say all the time, like they'll tell you, a man is the head of the house. A man is, I know it. You don't have to tell me. If you are the head, if you are the head of the house,
yes,
your actions, a leader leads. And when you lead properly, the people will follow. Look at one thing. Lately, what I see a lot is a lot of women have become very successful. Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah.
Because God is lifting up the women to take care of the children. God is putting the women in place of the men, because the men are not sitting up to take their position.
They're not.
But somebody needs to fill in that position.
Right.
So if the women are willing, God will give it to them.
Right. And Sheila, these are about choices too. The same choices that we had to take, men have to take too. And unfortunately, like you were saying, we're living in a day and time now, some of the choices that they have made have had them incarceration, away from their family, years of bad credit, no job, no security, stability. And we just made our choices and kept going straight up where God has opened the doors and allowed us to be. Because who made those who took those choices and had to deal with those consequences? And I was just talking to one of my colleagues yesterday and saying, that is not my fault for the bad choices that you made, and you're behind because God is on a move. He's going to use and put people in positions where they need to be positioned. And if we got to be in the head, unfortunately, we're just going to have to be at the head until you get yourself together. But you're behind. You're behind. And you're behind because of the choices. They have to take lead. They have these generations, these men that's been took leads and the entrepreneurs and found out how to need to tell these young people, not just how you can get into your own business or entrepreneur and get money in the right way, but also how you take care of your home, how you provide for your family, how you love that one that you say you love.
God help us. God help us, because it looks like most of us read the Bible upside down. I don't know how we understand it, but I believe that when we pick the Bible to read and we ask the Holy Spirit for understanding, He will give us a better understanding, because I always do that. And sometimes there are passages that I might have read a number of times, but anytime I read that passage again, I get a different understanding to it. Because the Holy Spirit gives me a different dimension to it. So as a man, if God is your head and you are my head, and you are not looking up to God, and you are missing, you are always bitter, you are always angry, and that kind of environment won't bring God in.
No, right.
So you're angry and you've picked your Bible, you're bitter and you've picked your Bible, you're sinning and you've picked your Bible.
Insecure.
And you expect that when you're praying and all of those things you're doing, God is answering and doing it. It's not happening. And then when that happens and the frustration sets in, and then we, the women on the other side, will become your punching bag. That is not happening.
And then your toxic relationship, because toxic relationship. You're absolutely right.
I'm just lost for words. But Kimmy, as we go on, how were you able to come out of all of these toxic situations? Because I know it's difficult.
Well, like I said, Sheila, that book took you from there through my entire journey of misdiagnosed to 15 years old, getting pregnant, child molestation at the age of 13 in my adopted home. But I had to, each chapter, and I didn't do this on my own, Sheila. I want viewers to know that I had my therapist sessions. Sometimes during COVID, I had met with her twice a week to finish this book, because I had to revisit my entire past. And I would break down sometimes and cry. I had some experience because I was still in my hometown when I seen my biological mother, and she still wouldn't give me. I was treated like a stranger. No conversation, no nothing. Just, I think, as my aunt said, she treated an outsider, strangers, better than she treated me. And this was all during writing the book. And I had to go through each chapter with help, with support. I had my children. My children was my biggest support system. Were just rooting for me. They know the truth. They know my biological parents. My biological father passed away. He made sure that he called all of his children at different times, even including me, and apologized and pretty much said to me he wished things had happened differently, and I respect that. But we didn't have a relationship. He couldn't change that, but I was just glad that God touched his heart at the end to make it right, and it was accepted. At each chapter, this phrase, this logo just kept beating my spirit, and every time I would say it, it was just like it was a release. and it was accept and embrace it all. So Sheila, I had to accept. I don't think the memoir had to take place and for me to put it into a book form, because many people that even knew half of my story would say, you need to write a book. And this was years ago. You need to write a book. You need to tell your story. You need to tell a story. And throughout my life and my career moves, I would tell pieces of my story when I could. Stay in school. I quit in 11th grade. You're going to have to go back. You're going to have to go back if you want a career and finish that first step, which is a high school diploma. But these were just pieces. Yeah. So until I really got down, Sheila, and got to this root of accepting and got it in black and white, I accepted, and that was my release. Everything that happened in my life, in my journey, it happened. And not only did I accept it, Sheila, I got comfortable enough to say, I accept that it hurt, that it was not my fault, that I was not the blame. I accept that some mistakes that I made. I accept that this was a turning point of my life when I was told that I'm a woman now and no birthdays come to me at 16 because I got a baby. So all the birthdays go to the baby. Yeah. I accept that I did what I could do as being put in a woman category, a woman place at 15, going on 16. And I had to accept that everything that I wanted to expect at the end as a fairy tale may never happen. I had to accept, Sheila, I may never get answers of why I was given away. Yeah. Why you didn't fight? Why in 47 years you didn't want a relationship? I had to accept that. And after I accepted this entire journey of my life, I accepted that had it not been me, well, it would have had to been somebody else, but it had to be me to be the person that I am now. Yeah. God had every one of those chapters in the plan before I was born, and I had to go do them. And after I got to that accepting, I was more having that ability to embrace who I am, whose I am, what love is, and be ready to receive the love and give the love. I never had no problem in giving, but then receiving the things that we go through and the damages that happen, we always have those baggage that's past that mentality that has to be renewed. Of like for instance, the rejection I felt even in the worst of relationships, that I didn't want to be detached because I didn't want to feel the rejection. Yeah. It was better for me to hold on to what I knew that was bringing me down year after year after year, was not elevating me. I felt like I was stuck. I felt like I couldn't, I was worth nothing. I felt that all I was one time to do was to lay there, have babies, and just be a wife and support him. No supporting my dreams, no supporting what I needed to do. Didn't even know what I liked to do in life, because it wasn't never asked. It wasn't never supported. It was never provided. So I'm looking for all those things in the wrong places, and so I had to embrace that. Okay, your journey, and you found the root, and you accepted the root of your mentality. Now you have to do a self-evaluation and invest in yourself and change this mentality, change your anticipation, change this anxiousness, change this way of thinking of being validated. Do what you have to do, and know that first it comes from your truth. And if you validate yourself, don't look for anyone else to validate you. Don't look for relationships to come where you expect it to come from. Like, I have many siblings, but God has brought so many other females and in my life. It's just as if we were born from either a mother or a father, that closeness. You know what I mean? So God, I had to embrace that he will give me, through my purpose-driven life, exactly what I need to keep moving forward. But as I didn't accept and embrace and kept looking back into the anxious Kim and the anticipating Kim of what Kim wanted, and break these unhealthy habits. I used to think for years that if I thought about myself or something for myself, I was one of the selfish persons in the world. So you see how I had to ask God to continue to let me invest in me and change that mentality that it's okay. This is nothing about selfishness. Taking care of me.
Yeah.
It's taking care of him. Yeah.
Before we got married, we had a life.
Yeah.
Our parents took us to school for a reason. Yeah. We got educated for a reason. Why is it that when we get married, we have to stop, be forced to stop? Okay, there are two things here. Let me get it right before I'm being implicated. Sometimes when we get married, our husbands will comfortably say, stay home, I'll pay you salary every month. And like they make you comfortable to stay home.
Right.
That is different.
Right.
But there's the other one where the man wants you to stay home and not earn any income, and he's not giving you any income to support yourself, because definitely you're a woman. You need saying things. And I can't keep coming to you all the time. I want to buy this. I want to buy sanitary towel. I want to buy, I saw this new earring in the shop when I went food shopping and I want it. And
when we as women know what we can deal with and accept and live freely with our decision and our choices and live our truth. I'm not going to live a side life, first of all. And I talk about in my journey, when I got married, that second marriage, besides the first one before I was 19, the second marriage, that husband was 11 years older than me. And he never seen me, I don't believe, outside of that age that he married me. It was that control, that possessiveness, this young little, cute little thing that was on his side. And he was an excellent provider, an excellent father. But when it came to husband, his role of being a husband and having a much younger wife was, I control everything. And we would have the biggest fights, I mean, physically and mentally, when I wanted to do something for me. I remember the worst one of them all is when I enrolled in college. I was all kinds of B's. He wanted to fight. Oh my gosh. But I ended up not letting it stop me. I knew, and I had this intuition. And one thing about, I can say, when God gives you this intuition, especially as us women, we tend to kind of always second guess it. That's usually our right. God gives it to us strongly for a reason, to protect us.
Yeah.
Do not think your intuition is wrong. If you feel in your gut and then in your spirit and your heart something right, normally it isn't right. So I felt it. I knew, Sheila, when I got that worst fight that I can recall about me doing something for myself, I knew it. I said, by the time, and I didn't even know, I was just enrolling. I said, by the time I finish this, I don't know how long it's going to take me, but by God, I feel this. By the time I finish this college, because I want it that bad, I probably would not be with my husband. And guess what, Sheila? I wasn't. It took me 6 years. Seriously, it took me 6 years to finish a 4-year degree. When I graduated from Baltimore and Sojourner Douglas College, it was on, my kids were there. My kids, my aunt, and my godmom. But I wasn't married. I knew it because of that, like I said, that spirit that he had, that control, that possession and stuff like that. And if I was that type of woman that wanted that in my life or accepted that in my life, we probably would still be married today. But I knew that, as you were saying, Sheila, and I am that woman now. I tell some of my male friends, if you're looking for someone, even if you were rich, if you're looking for someone to stop working and to depend on you totally for everything, you might as well keep going, because I'm not that type of woman.
Exactly.
If you're rich, I'm going to bring whatever salary I have to your richness, to your richness, or whatever my entrepreneur business is, to your richness, because that I love making my own money. My money drives me being that independent to do what I love. It helps my inner spirit. It helps me to feel like I'm a value in this earthly world when I can get out here and work and do what I do, and I do well in. I love what I do, you know?
Exactly. Everybody was created for a purpose. So why won't women be allowed to operate in their purpose? Because once you start operating in your purpose, like you're operating now, somebody's life is dependent on it. So if you're not operating, somebody's lacking. Right. Because life has been designed such that once you start operating in the purpose God ordained you to be in, then you will be feeding someone else. Not like feeding them, like giving them food or something, but somebody is waiting to feed off your gifting. I don't know if I'm making sense. So if you're not operating in it, you're not helping someone. So it's like you're trying to halt God's process of development on earth.
And you know, you just gave a good point there, Sheila. And I was saying this, you know, even with exes and relationships, I want to be able to express and, you know, elaborate on what you were just saying that just hit my mind that somebody need to hear. Just because relationships is over, and just because they're over the way they are over, and you take a stand and you take a choice to say enough is enough, I can't accept this in a relationship, don't count it all void, because like you were just saying, God has a purpose. God just didn't have a purpose for you in the relationship, but they had a purpose for the other person in that relationship. You had to be in that journey with them for, like Tyler Perry said, a season, not for a lifetime, for a season. And if they didn't catch that lesson, that's not your fault. You continue to move forward.
Exactly.
Am I not right, Sheila?
You are.
You get what I'm saying?
You are.
And I believe that's what you were just touching on as far as work.
Yeah.
It's been all over my career, and I used to do DUI counseling, that I know that placement, that title that I'm in that season, in that chapter of my life was just not for me. How many lives that I impact, that I needed to impact, that God put me in a position to impact, that they went home to their wives or to their mother or to their father and said, you know what? I had a DUI counselor, and let me tell you something, she was cool as shit. You know what I'm saying, Sheila? Because I was, but I would make them work, and I used to tell them, they used to say, Miss Kim, you're crazy. I said, no, I'm really serious. Help me help you. Exactly. I can't do anything by myself, but if you don't help me help you, we're done. We're done. Exactly. Because I'm not going to do all the work, and you're just not going to just come in and feel like you done just came in one time and that's it, and I'm going to pass you. No. But, you know, but seriously, so men and us, it as women, having that support of men to know that we have a calling, we have a purpose, not just for them and our role, but also in this world that we're living in, to give our love, to give our spirit, to give our work that God has provided for us to do while we're here.
This is powerful. This is so powerful. You know what, Kimmy? When I started this podcast, I'm beginning to see something here, that at least every story we share on this podcast will change a life and will change a situation.
Yes.
Because somehow, I also believe that when your abuser is doing it to you, they don't know they're abusing you. I think they don't know. I think they don't know what they're doing is wrong. Mm-hmm. Because I tend to feel that they feel they're not hurting you. It's something you have to be able to deal with. So as we talk about it here, I pray that if somebody is in that situation, like is abusing a woman, or a woman is abusing a man somewhere, they'll know the kind of pain.
I'm glad you said, Sheila, and it can work both ways, because there are women abusers and there are women men abusers. But it don't matter which sex it is, it's wrong. And I'm praying the same that you pray, Sheila, that the abuser of either female or male will hear this and understand the impact and the consequences and the strain that it puts on the one that receives it, you know?
If for nothing at all, let's respect ourselves and know that the children are watching.
Right.
These children didn't ask to be born. They did not.
Right.
So they don't deserve it.
And then Sheila, listen at this. This is what it's so ironic to me is when I hear that and you look at the men that then have daughters that fail to realize or fail to even acknowledge or get to a place in their life and say, how would I feel if a man or she comes back and tells me that a man has put their hands on her? Yeah.
This is a big thing to think about. This is something to really, really think about. How would you feel if your daughter should come home telling you, my husband laid his hand on me and I have a face cut, I have my arm bruised, something? How would you feel? So if you know you're not going to be comfortable with that, don't do it to someone else.
Exactly, because that someone else is someone's daughter.
Yeah.
And if they don't have a father or anybody that's their father living or around, that is somebody's child. That is someone's loved one. That is still a woman that has been created for you to love.
To love.
To love. To love.
Oh,
not hurt. To love. Yeah.
I don't think love is this difficult. If it was, I don't think God will be the first to do it. No.
Right. No, I don't. We made it difficult.
Yeah.
We made it difficult. And I tell, love I've learned is not begged. It's not begged for. It's not forced. It's not bought. It's naturally beautifully given. Beautifully, wonderfully given. That is it's so it's such a feeling that it's hard to say that it's unknown when it's done. That you're like, oh yeah, this is love.
As you were talking, something just came into my mind. I think the episode I recorded, the episode that came out this week, the episode 31, with Jalen, the guy who set up a foundation to help stop bullying in schools. And I think there was one thing he said. When I asked him, he said, love is contagious. Love and affection is contagious. When you give it to somebody, the person will automatically give it back to you. You get it? So if there's no way somebody's loving you and you're hating the person, even when you hate the person for some time,
it's a transferred feeling. Yes, and it's transferred right. You love and you love beautifully and so loving and kind, it transfers right back to you. Yes. It's not, you don't run away from that beautiful love. You don't run away from that beautiful love. I know what you're saying, Sheila. I know.
So if you're loving me, like you say you are genuinely, why won't I love you back? Why would we be quarreling? Why would we be, shouting and talking on top of our voices? Why would we do that?
Right.
So I think that the essence of love is what we are missing in our homes and in our lives.
Right.
But if we look as God as the God of love, because that is where love comes from, and we say that we are true worshippers of him, and we are imitators of him, and we are not loving the way he loves us, then we are not truly what we call ourselves to be as Christians or as children of God.
Right.
And I think that is where we all fall short. For me, every situation I've found myself in life, I've gone on my feet and I've prayed through it. And trust me, if you are listening to me, that's how I deal with my issues. So that is what I can throw out there as an option for anybody who is going through something. Because I don't have a friend to confide in school and things I used to. But when I got married, I think that I had to cut most of my friends off.
Mm.
And I see that as an easy way for me. Like, it's much better for me. It's made life easier for me. Everyone is different.
Right.
But when I weigh two things, when I had a lot of friends in my life and when I don't have friends in my life now, I think this time works much better for me.
Gotcha.
So I don't have anybody to go to talk to about
Mhm.
my problems. I don't.
Mhm.
I've learned to talk to God about it.
Right.
And I find it to be the best because He gives me all the answers I want. And another thing, my problems are not out there
Mhm. Mhm.
for everybody to be knowing and just listening and not even giving me any advice and sitting behind and then talking negative about it as well. So
Right.
my advice to anybody going through some situation, just go on your knees.
Right.
Just go on your knees. I remember I've asked God for some silly things in life. Like, if you listen to, you think, what kind of prayer is this? Some silly prayer requests I've sent to God, but He answered all of them.
Mhm.
All of them. So there's
And don't think it's taboo or wrong if you get into a mental place in your life that's it's not healthy, that's getting you sucked deeper into depression. Reach out to a therapist. That's what they're for. That's what they're for. And you don't have to worry about, trying to find a friend or whatever, because I know exactly what you're saying, Sheila, and I can relate. Some things that I've done, I have went through with my exes, and the relationship is over, and I will not dare, and I have a couple of childhood friends. You hear me? Childhood friends. But I wouldn't even dare repeat it.
Yeah.
It's just so awful to even share, and then to have that risk of will it be shared to someone else?
It will.
Even innocently or grudgingly, it doesn't matter. Would it be shared? I don't want to risk that. So like you were saying, Sheila, some things that has happened in my life, no one knows.
Yeah.
Even about my relationship, but God knows.
Yeah.
And then, like I was saying, I encourage, and I know when I get to those points, like I can't wait to Sheila, I switched agencies, and I just got through my probation, so I'm ready for my insurance to kick in so I can see my therapist again, my therapist that helped me with my book. But when I get anxious and when I feel that I'm kind of going into a space in my life or a place that is familiar, that is not healthy, that can put me into another mood spring, or not have me be the best mom or best co-worker or the best career woman that I can be. I'll get on the phone and set my session up because I am not above seeking help and knowing that God has placed people in that area in our lives to help, and venting help. And then you can get that other view, looking from the outside, looking in, that knows that you have can confide into your past and to your mentality of where you're at and what you want to feel that where you want to go. So I encourage that. But Sheila, I'm right with you as far as that, and I'm glad you you shared that because we're living in a day and time that people need to hear that. That prayer and God, and you can talk to Him at any time, but also know that you're not in this alone.
There's something else I also saw on your website, and I want to ask you: how can we find inner peace and resilience through the toughest times?
Well, how I found it is by self-love. I had to invest in me and love me. And since I've been doing that, I'm always a smiler. I've always enjoyed giving love, but never took the time to self-love me. And since I have been doing that and loving me, I attract, like you were just saying, I attract the right love. It's even more radiant when I smile and when I talk to people, because it's no undenying that I love me. And so if I love me, I'm expecting for you to love me the right way.
Exactly. Let me ask, there's this question I asked one of the guests who came on the podcast. She lost a child, and she said when she wrote her book, if it felt as if the burden has been lifted off her after she's written the book. Do you feel the same? Did you have the same experience?
There are certain things in my story. Once I put that whole story together, it was like Maya Angelou was saying, and I had just found that on someone's else page about it's such an agony feeling of an untold story until that story is told. And this is what she said about her life. And so I can definitely relate to what you were saying about the other author, is that once I got that on black and white, and before it was even published, but I got it on black and white and I released the whole entire story of In My Truth. The agony of untold was gone. It was lifted. It was something that I lived with until it was released. Something that you live with. Because it's like you were saying, it's the entire, and it's an entire as I came up with it, except that I was forced to revisit and accept and say, you know what, even though people would hear bits and pieces and say, girl, you need to tell your story.
Yeah.
I really know how relevant my story, my journey, and how bad and how sad and how amazing and how truly God's love for me until it was released. Yeah.
Writing is therapeutic then.
Yes, it
is.
Yes, it is.
It is.
It is. And I got many feedbacks from soon as it was released. Different nationalities have said, you got me thinking after I read your story to share my own. I said, they got it.
Yeah.
They got it. This is what I wanted to hear. Yes. Share your truth, share your story, write it if you have to, but please don't keep it in, because you got to learn and understand. And I got it. This story wasn't meant for me. I had to be the main character to go through it, but it's so much bigger than me. It's meant for others to hear the story, to know that this journey has happened and I overcome. And look who I am now, and look where I am now.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of your greatest achievements.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the?
I believe like the greatest achievement was having that learning disability and going back to school and finishing my high school diploma, getting that, because I quit in 11th grade. And obtaining the degrees, and that was, I think that educational goals were my biggest achievement. Even with going into A.M.E Zion, going to conference studies, I knew that one step of going back and finishing nothing else would cause or prevent me to finish or accomplish what I set my mind to accomplish as far as my educational goals. And I had my godmom. She's been such a supporter, and she was one that was placed in my life to have me see as an example of a classy, God-fearing woman. And she just got her doctorate, but she was right there when I got my first degree. And even with that first degree, I knew before I got that first degree, I said, I'm going to get a bachelor's in the career choice. I don't know if it's going to be a social worker or a counselor, but I'm going to get the bachelor's, because I knew that that completion, that not, we can adapt the spirit of incomplete, of not completing things as women. Yeah. And I had that at one time. And once I gave that to God and completed that first step of that educational goal, as hard as it was I was in my 20s with 3 kids or 4 kids when I went back to get my high school diploma, and a wife, and a wife. But I knew that in order for me to go to plan B, which was to go to college, I had to go back and complete what I didn't finish.
Yeah.
And once that spirit was cut, and I relied on God to do it, and I had a tough love teacher, because I tried it with her. I tried it when I was almost about to finish. I stopped coming. Can you believe it, Sheila? That spirit of incompleteness.
Yeah.
And I was like, forget it. I said, no. I said, you know what? Forget it. And I went in there, hadn't seen her in like 2 weeks or 3. And she looked at me and she closed my book up right in front of my face. And she said, you can leave. Don't waste my time and I won't waste yours. Oh, Sheila, I got in that car and I cried. I cried all the way home. But I needed that tough love to go back. Yeah. And when I went back stronger. I said, I got to do this. But she needed to tell me that because I was playing. And I had that spirit of incompleteness, like, look, I don't really want it. I'm going to get it. I get it. If I don't, I don't. But when she closed that, she seen me, and I had been away for like 2 weeks, not just for no reason, just not coming to class. And she closed that book and she said, I'm going to tell you something. She said, don't waste my time and I won't waste yours. You can leave. Okay. And she met it. She met it and I left. And I came back. But Sheila, I needed that. Yeah. And once I completed, and God put me right on into, I never forget, just before our graduation ceremony was all in place and everything, she came to me, the same teacher, and she said, we want this to be a great ceremony, and we're so proud of a couple, certain ones of our students that had enrolled in this new program here on the Eastern Shore to get their high school diploma. Mm-hmm. And she said, so we have decided to pick 4 to say a speech about this. And guess who was one of them?
You.
Of the 4. Yes. I said, oh Lord. But yes. So it's always an honor that things have always been done in my life and journey, and even the hard road of going through and overcoming and accomplishing and completing, but never the evidence of it. It's always been clear that it was for someone else, because they always put me in a position to either minister about it or share it in one form or another. So I was one of the 4 that was chosen, and we were pictured in the newspaper, and here all my little kids were there, stuff like that. But that was, as you were saying, what was my best accomplishments that I can recall is those. It's fulfilling those educational goals.
Yeah. That's a good one. Trust me. You needed to fulfill those educational goals for you to be able to share your story today. For somebody who's not been able to fulfill their educational goals, to know that it's possible to do it. And it's not too late, no matter what happened. They can still go back and then get it done. Yes. Because knowledge is power, isn't it? And once you had it,
it is.
You were able to come out of the situation you were in at that time. Wow. This is so inspiring. We've got into the time of truth, so I'm going to be asking you a few questions, and then we'll get to know you better. Very short questions. So, what is your favorite book?
Probably the Bible right now.
Your favorite song?
My favorite, "Love Me Like You Never Have."
What is the favorite time of the day?
My favorite time of the day is usually at night.
What would your favorite movie be?
The Color Purple right now.
What would your favorite phrase be?
Then embrace it all would be my favorite phrase.
Finish these sentences. I wish
the world would get better.
Nothing in this world can
stop me from achieving anything that I want to achieve in this life.
I pray
that God will continue to give me the strength and the love and the joy to finish my purpose-driven life.
I would love to
travel and go to visit Africa and take my daughter to see the motherland.
I believe
all things are possible through Christ that strengthens us.
Amen.
All things.
Amen to that. Amen to that. What would your best advice be to anybody going through any form of abuse as we wrap up?
Please. It may not be easy, but love yourself. Love yourself more, love your children more. To take control, get the courage, get out, stay out, live a beautiful life that does not involve any type of physical abuse or mental abuse. Nothing. And that form or fashion is what you have been created to receive.
Where can our listeners connect with you?
I have a website, www.Kimberly Ann, it's ANNEBELL.com. On my website, I'm open to speak at do public speakings in any form, any platform, physical appearance. You can just contact me through that. I'm also on Facebook, Kimberly Ann Bell, at contact Kimberly Ann Bell. My book is on Amazon, The Epitome of Kimmy. You'll see the little brown girl on the front of it, so you can't miss it. It's right here. So
yeah. Oh, wow.
That's it.
Wow.
So The Epitome of Kimmy, and it's also in Goodreads, The Epitome of Kimmy. And if you can't relate or know of any similarities in your life as far as my journey of being divorced, 4 times married, teenage pregnancy, misdiagnosed, being abandoned, being in kinship, adopted in kinship. Maybe you know someone has. So I encourage you to get the book and read it thoroughly and see the hope and the trust that I had and the transformation that I had to go through from the beginning to now where I'm at now.
This is beautiful, Kimberly. I'd like to say a very big thank you for coming on podcast with Sheila today to share the story the way you have shared it. Many people cannot share the story the way you've done it. And you shared it with so much passion that I believe that anybody who listens to this episode or watches on YouTube will be able to relate if they're going through or know somebody who is going through a situation like that. Get the book and read it. And then I think that it's going to be a blessing to you and whoever you pass the book on to. If you've been listening in, this is season 2, episode 33 of our podcast series, where we've been bringing your way seasoned guests with inspiring real life stories to share with us. Do not miss out on all these lovely experiences. Subscribe and be notified when a new episode is released. Whilst at it, please drop us a rating and don't forget to share it as well. We have a video presentation of this episode on our YouTube channel. Just search for Podcast with Sheila on YouTube and you'll find us. Until we meet again.